If you want to be a real jazz guitarist, you have to be able to handle rhythm changes. In this video, I'm going to show you the best way to do it. The usual theory-based method makes it harder than it needs to be, and it sounds pretty stiff and boring. There's a much easier way the pros use, and once you get it, it'll completely change the way you play over rhythm changes. If you don't know me, I'm Dr. George, and I've spent over 50 years figuring out how to make jazz simpler so that you can play more and think less. Today, I'm going to show you a way to approach rhythm changes that'll make them simpler and get you playing over them sooner. And at the end, I'll show you a cool idea that'll really make you sound like a pro. Rhythm changes are a rite of passage for any jazz musician. But most methods teach you how to play it in an older style tied closely to the chord changes. You can spend a year practicing scales and exercises and you're still not playing the tune. And most importantly, it's not how we play now. Here's what's really going on. Listen to some recordings of Oleo from the 50s and 60s. There's a list in the description below. Everything they play works, but you usually don't hear them running the changes. And that's because they're treating it more like a blues with a bridge, and you can play over the entire tune using just one scale. Don't believe me? Let me show you. Think of the A section as an 8-bar blues. You can see how the chords from this common 12-bar blues condense down to 8. Now, there are really just two important ideas there. In the first 4 bars, the 1-6-2-5 progression is really just an extension of B flat. Most players use that space to make a statement. You can play blues ideas, major scale ideas, patterns, quotes, just about anything can fit over it. Be creative. The harmonic movement is in measures 5 and 6. This progression shows up in hundreds of standards, and I've traced it all the way back to the Scott Joplin's The Entertainer. You might see some variations, but the key is the descending line B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F. 1, flat 7, 6, flat 6, 5. I call this the Joplin line. Some players will outline a whole line, but the most important note is the G flat, the flat 6 in the key. Hit that note, and you've made the changes. Let's listen to how this works. I'll use the pentatonic scale as a framework. The pentatonic scale serves as reference points for your ears, but then I'm going to add notes to it. Blue notes, notes from the major scales, chromatic approaches. I call this Pentatonic Plus. Then, in measures 5 and 6, I'll use the target notes to outline the harmony. I'll play the full Joplin line the first time through, and then just target the G flat the second time. Now for the bridge. 4 dominant chords. Now your first inclination might be to treat all of them as 5 chords, but that'll end up sounding pretty old school like Sweet Georgia Brown. If you want it to sound more hip, you need to relate these chord changes to the original key. And that means some color tones will be altered. Flat 9, sharp 9, flat 13. Now we could dig deep into the theory, but the easiest way to think of them is just as dominant substitutions for diatonic chords in the key. And the difference between these chords and the diatonic chords is just one note, the third. The end result is 8-note bebop type scales that include the right color tones without having to think about a different scale for each chord. So here's a B flat scale. And we add the F sharp. That works for the D7 chord. Now we'll add the B natural. And now we'll add the E natural for the C7 chord. So instead of learning a new scale for every chord, you can stay in the original key and just target that one note. This is my 1+1 method. 1 scale plus 1 note. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Rhythm changes are often played fast, sometimes real fast. I like to play them around 220 BPM, but some will call it quite a bit faster. So yes, at some point, you do have to push your chops. But that doesn't mean that you have to be able to run endless eighth notes. If you understand the phrasing and hear the shape of the tune and use a few strong ideas, you can make music on rhythm changes long before you're burning at top speed. So here's the thing that'll make you sound like a pro. play altered on the F7 chord. The F7 at the end of the bridge takes us back to B flat, but it's common to treat this as an altered dominant. But rather than learn another scale, here's a simple trick. Just slide the pattern you used on C7 down one fret. You don't have to play the exact same thing, but just use the same pattern, and you've got it made. So here's a C7 pattern. And then we play. And it works exactly the same way. And then back to B flat. This is the same method I teach all of my students. First, start with a pentatonic scale. Then second, add notes to get to the pentatonic plus. And then third, use the 1+1 method to target the notes that are outside of the key. Now that took quite a bit of theory to figure out, but as you can see, the end result is much simpler. And this is how I help you. I do the heavy-duty theory, but you focus on the result that makes jazz easier. If this approach resonates with you, book a free lesson with me and I'll show you more about how it works so that you can start playing real jazz sooner and with more confidence. Just click the link below and choose a convenient time. Once you get this basic framework under your fingers, the next step is learning how players make rhythm changes more colorful with substitutions, tritone, and modern dominant sounds. If you want to explore that side of it, check out this video.